Southwest Florida, welcome back to Leap Pitch Live. I'm so honored to have her here, my good friend. I haven't had her on the show in a while. Formally on the show, she says I've never had her formally on the show, which I can't believe. I know I've interviewed her before. My good friend, the executive director of the Housing Authority for the city of Fort Myers, Marcia Davis. Welcome to Leap Pitch Live.
Thank you.
You shocked me. You know, just so you know, I've interviewed like over 20,000 people over the past 30 years.
Right.
And certain people, I forget whether I interviewed them or not. I just thought you had been on this show because you went out of town for a hot minute and came back. That's probably that interim where I didn't get you on the show. Right. So now I got you. I finally got the biggest interview in my lifetime.
Oh, well, in spirit and celebration of your 30 years on television, we want to present this to you from the Housing Authority of the City of Fort Myers, and congratulations.
All right, Skinny, get a picture of this.
30 years.
This is my first gift for the 30 years of being on air, and I want to thank you for this. I am so thrilled. Can't wait to get it home and display it. And for right now, I tell you, I'm going to display it on my TV show for the rest of the month. And appreciate that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Boy, you really thinking, huh? I'm so touched.
Compliments. We have it from one of our board members, Veronica Shoemaker Florist. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a legendary florist as well.
Right.
Hey, you think you buttering me up by bringing me this? I'm getting ready to grill you. No, Marcia, you're doing such a great job in the community. Now, I thought that after the Renaissance Preserve project had happened, that everybody was just going to relax, but you guys are not resting on your laurels. You're actually continuing to revitalize our community, bring in some great housing, and improve and remove blight and slum, and just make living conditions for people in the Dunbar community a lot better. I want you to summarize what's going on the corner of Ford and Edison.
Well, as you know, I was gone to Virginia for 6 years and came back, and the Housing Authority had 4 public housing properties left that are at the end of their life cycle, and Southward being the oldest, and something had to happen. So back in 2019, we started a public planning process and did that for a year and a half, even through COVID. And with the hopes that we would go after a choice neighborhoods, which is like the new Hope 6.
Okay.
And it was a $30 million grant. That's always just the seed money to
But
help
when people hit 30 million, they think that's it, right?
It's not in the bank account today.
Okay.
But part of that was, as soon as I got back, went to the city and said, we have to have partners because our city is our co-applicant applying for these funds. So once we had their commitment and buy-in, we were off to the races. We did our community planning process for a year and a half. So our design and the amenities and things and the housing types that came out of that is exactly what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And then we went out the summer of COVID, like 2020, and got some good partners, McCormick, Bear, and Salazar, that to be our housing partner. A national affordable housing developer, very successful in urban revitalization. And so we went after the Choice Neighborhoods Grant. And that was March 2021. We were notified that we were shortlisted. Just to kind of give you an example, these are very competitive. There was only 20 applications nationwide, and 5 applicants were shortlisted. And between New Jersey, Maine, Cleveland, Detroit, and little old Fort Myers, Florida was shortlisted. And May 25th, we got the good news that we were awarded. So we're very excited. It is truly a transformational project. It's not just us tearing down housing and building new housing. This is a transformational effort. So it wasn't just the Housing Authority. It had to be everybody in it. It had to be the school district. It had to be our CRA, our city, our community partners, the Community Foundation, all of our nonprofit partners that deliver, services to families. And the city primarily had to make significant investments into an area.
What would you say, like in the application process, and I know it was very competitive, made Fort Myers stand out?
Well, I tell you, one of the biggest things that I think stood out for Fort Myers was the ability when the final leverage number came in, and that means all the money, whether that's in kind or cash, equity and debt, and all the things that we take to perform this transformation is $360 million investment within a 2-mile radius of Southward Village, not downtown, but within the Dunbar community. And so now that may be easy for a bigger city that has a lot of big partners and corporate partners, but Fort Myers, Florida, and having real commitments of $360 million put us on the map.
What is the Greater Dunbar Initiative?
So we kind of termed it the Greater Dunbar Initiative of all of our partners and what kind of represents what we're doing. We just don't want to say the Southward Village Project.
I got
that. Because it's much more than the housing. The housing, this grant really focuses on neighborhood, people, and housing. And so that is a culmination of a lot of partners. And so it was not just Southward Village. And so we came up with the name so that it kind of represents, and that was among all of our partners, what was happening in the Greater Dunbar area.
That is an opportunity zone, what we knew as an enterprise zone. That's an opportunity zone.
Right.
And the opportunity zone has really been impactful, not only locally, but throughout the country, hasn't it?
Right. And it provided some opportunities for folks to make some investments. One of the great things that has happened for us through this planning process is we met new partners, and they came to the table, and they came to our stakeholder meetings and wanted to be part of it. Not only want to be part of it, but are financially investing in it. So that's bringing us a commercial kind of corridor center with a neighborhood market.
You said that $30 million was the seed money. I think that's
Right.
a grant, right?
It is
and
a grant.
then that multiplies into, I think you said 300 and something odd million dollars in terms of other debt and equity and stuff like that. So that's a tremendous multiplier right there.
Right.
When what were we looking at in terms of the whole build-out process? Was that a 3-year plan? Is that a 5-year plan?
So it's a 5-year plan.
Walk
right?
us through that.
So the first part is there is a time expiration on the grant itself. So you have to have your plan together. That's why when you are afforded $30 million, you have to have had your plan together, and it all has to be completed within the 5 to 6 year period. So we have it together. So the first piece of it is really really getting involved and assessing all the families and meeting them where they're at, of where we can help them thrive in a more stable environment and provide better housing opportunities and help them as we're doing the housing. Now, the neat thing about our transformation plan is at the same time, a brand new elementary school is going to be built right across the street.
Correct.
And so all
Franklin
of
Park.
the partnerships that we have with the school
Wow,
board,
that's gonna be beautiful.
and they're just right along there with us. So education and housing go hand in hand.
You know I have a unique perspective of this because I watched the Hope Sick project from
Right.
start to soup to nuts. Is it? We're not spending a lot of time on Michigan and Renaissance Preserve, but the general concept showed that you had experience too in
Right.
doing a project like this where people moved out, they came back, and that whole process. Walk us through that too, because there are some people wondering how is that going to work.
Right. So part of it is Southward Village is 60 years old. Our infrastructure is failing miserably, and so part of that is we have got to get our families in standard living conditions.
Yes.
And that's first and foremost. So part of this is our first piece is getting HUD's approvals so that we can start to relocate families. And so we think by the end of summer of 2022 we will start the relocation process and making some other opportunities, housing opportunities that we have going up already in other areas. They'll have the opportunity to relocate. When the sites and the phases are done on site, they'll have the opportunity to come right back.
One of the things you said early on, because this is so interesting to me, you opened up by saying, hey, Southwood Village has run its life cycle. What does that mean to the layman in the world that you function in? It's a certain time that these old public housing are identified as, hey, this is old leftover from the Great Society or something like that?
Right. And it is. A lot of housing authorities across the country, Fort Myers is no different than a housing authority in Virginia. That housing and the old public housing stock, the capital improvements and money and funding that HUD provides you over years, there's not enough to keep up with the demands and the maintenance and the upkeep of older buildings. And so that's what it truly means. It's at the end of its life cycle. There is not enough federal funding coming in to take care of, to kind of renovate it to a brand new building. And so housing authorities across the country have to, one, it's very important, and it's our mission to have affordable housing in our community. And how do you do that? And how do you preserve that? And it does take a public-private partnership to bring in, equity and debt, along with some federal, subsidies. But we have to go at a different way. And that truly is what it means is, no longer do we have enough money to upkeep with today's problems. Mm-hmm. Certainly not tomorrow's problems either.
What has been the community reaction to this at this point?
Well, it's nothing new, and I think when we won, then it became new again. But right?
Right.
But we had started on this planning process for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. We didn't come up overnight. One of the interesting things is when we started this planning process, and we had brought our urban design associates. We even brought illustrators on site so that people could, in real time, saying what they'd like to see in their community, it would be drawn for them. So there was no preconceived notions. I didn't come with a bunch of plans and saying, here's what we're going to do. It was a true planning process so that everybody had input into this process. Mm-hmm. What do you want to see? And then we said, the neat benefits of choice neighborhoods is, one, it comes along with community improvement money. Then it comes along with people money so that we can provide case management services and programming to help families thrive and get to a different place. Mm-hmm. And so that's all the benefits that happen. And so that was, a positive reaction. I think it was a little different at first. They were like, well, we want to see all the pretty plans, right? Mm-hmm. And we said the plans come when everybody says what they'd like to see.
All right, go with me on this. We have some images showing on screen. Kind of Sesame Street, what are we looking at? We're looking at 3-bedroom, 2 bedrooms, kind of attached units.
So we'll have in Southward Village on site, we will have a couple elderly complexes because we have an older population at Southward. So we're trying to meet the needs of what's there today. We'll have 1, 2s, and 3s townhomes attached. So it'll look completely different than what's there. Now, we do have one off-site, so that's the kind of building first, so we're making some opportunities. We have a site on Cleveland Avenue that'll have 90 units, and every one of the phases is, one, we're replacing every one of the units in Southward Village, but 2, we're adding workforce housing and market rate housing. Mm-hmm. That's about the same rental market. So that we can, provide some other opportunities in true mixed income communities. Okay,
so I don't know if you recall, I grew up in public housing my whole life. Boys and Girls Club saved my life and all of that. I remember our rent was really low. I mean, really low. But I was so young, I didn't understand, growing up in public housing. To my mom's, when I got around high school, she sent me to the housing authority to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And it was like $7 or something. What are rents like now in public housing? Is it that whole days of paying $16 and all that's gone, right?
Well, I mean, a family that's living in public housing pays based upon their income and whatever that may be. So they pay about 30% of whatever their income is. The average rents right now are about $250 a month. Okay.
And Section 8 still plays a role in this world today?
Yes, we have a program, about 2,200 vouchers that are throughout Lee County. They were at private landlords that are accepting the vouchers. Same concept. Mm-hmm. They pay based upon their income. The neat thing, really lately, is that we've got additional vouchers handed to us. They're emergency homeless vouchers to start trying to tackle the homeless initiative here and trying to house them instantly. So that's a new initiative that HUD has, and we were afforded 86 vouchers of that. Mm-hmm. We also have veterans vouchers that are just for veterans to take a voucher and find housing.
When I hear you talk about a magnificent project like this in the city of Fort Myers, I often think about the City of Fort Myers Community Redevelopment Agency, under the leadership of my good friend, Michelle Hilton-Terry, the executive director. What role do they play in all of this?
Well, Michelle has been our true partner from the very beginning, and it's so exciting to be able to work with her and her team and to be part of this. Because I said in the beginning, it's not just the Housing Authority, it's all of our partners, and we're all in this together. And there's no big secret. It's everybody targeted their resources and energy and efforts. Think about the impacts that are going to happen years down the road. And the CRA, part of the Choice Neighborhoods is making neighborhood improvements. And Michelle has been working tirelessly to get the McCollum Hall completed. We'll be able to provide some additional funding for her to get that on its way and completed. So, and then also a couple of other neighborhood improvements we'll work closely with her and trying to make happen within the Choice Neighborhoods area.
Okay, so that sounds like a true partnership with a lot of different entities. You, the board of directors for the City of Fort Myers Housing Authority,
yes,
they've been very instrumental in this whole process, right? Tell me about some of the key members on that board and give them an opportunity to have some exposure right here in bringing this great project to fruition.
Right. So we have a wonderful board of commissioners, and none of what we do and the ability to be so creative wouldn't happen if it wasn't for them. Having that faith and trust that we are going to truly make a difference, and they are the leaders of the Housing Authority. And our board chairman, Bruce Strayhorn, has been on our board for a number of years.
Shout you out, Bruce.
Yeah. And he, this community is in his heart. Public housing, affordable housing is in his DNA. So he is leading the board. We have Vice Chairwoman Maddie Young, who is, in her day job, she also serves and volunteers on our board and has been instrumental in providing guidance and advice. We also have Meg Giltner, who has spent 30 years at Salvation Army as a general manager and recently retired from the Pace Center for Girls. So she provides a lot of guidance and a lot of experience. We have Israel Suarez, Dr. Israel Suarez. And
Reverend Suarez, the legend.
And just wonderful. We have a board, we have a resident board commissioner, Doug Hogg, and he lives at Royal Palm Towers. And we have Joseph D'Alessandro, remember he's the ex-state attorney, is on our board. And then our most recent addition to our board is Richard Fain. He has joined our board when I got here in 2019, and I've known Richard for a long time, and it's very exciting. He's lived and grew up in the community, so he is very instrumental.
Star.
Yes.
NFL and now an entrepreneur, former bank vice president.
Right. His experience and expertise in the banking world, certainly the complicated financing that we find ourselves in sometimes, and being to have that expertise on our board, I'm lucky of the continuity and the Housing Authority, and even my predecessor, we've been able to enjoy that.
That's outstanding. How can people get more information on a lot of the things that we just talked about?
Well, they can certainly, we have our updated website. There is a whole page that's dedicated to the Greater Dunbar Initiative. We do have a video that walks you through the entire project and what's happening. Not just the housing pieces, but the neighborhood improvements and the school improvements and all of those things. To get more information, you can sign up. So anytime that website's updated, it will send you the updates.
Great.
And also it has our contact information. And obviously anybody can call me, because I will talk till the day is long about this project, because it's that important.
When people think of the City of Fort Myers Housing Authority, what do you want to come to their mind?
One, it's the best housing authority in the country.
Okay.
And that, I want them to think about what makes a housing authority successful is truly the partnerships with all the community members and our City of Fort Myers.
Well, I want to apologize for having not had you formally on the show in all these years. And it's so nice of you to come here on the 30th anniversary of Lee Pitts Live and bring me a nice gift. Shout out to Veronica Shoemaker Flores and all the great work that you guys are doing. And now this will be we're going to let Lee Pitts Live be the epicenter where you keep up with what's going on with this whole project. How about that?
I would certainly appreciate it.
All right, we'll get you all wired in. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, as the saying goes on this particular show, for those who say it can't be done, they're usually interrupted by those like the City of Fort Myers Housing Authority and all the fine people who are associated with this great project that's taking place, housing project development. And remember, Miami has the oranges, but Fort Myers got the what?
The juice.
We got the juice. We'll be right back.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.
Hello everybody, this is Lee. I'm so glad that you watched that particular show, and if you enjoyed that show, we got other shows like that. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch Lee Pitts Live on demand anytime, and also hit us up on all our social media platforms. Just type in Lee Pitts Live, and there you go.